can still remember what it was like the first time I stepped into a race car. The sound of the engine, the anticipation, but I never could have imagined where this journey would take me. My father once told me that racing is just like life. You have to stay on your toes, because you never know what's around the next corner. My name is Bill Watson, and this is my story.
Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is one of the few circuits in the world that has not changed its layout in its roughly 60-year history. As you would expect, it's built a fearsome reputation because of that. Single-class racing is treacherous enough, but today we'll be throwing 3 classes out there at once. Everyone's got to be on their toes, and survival might just be the name of the game as we get ready to watch Round 5 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me at the booth, covering the prototype and GTLM classes, is Bill Soup Zahn. Keeping us up on the GTD class is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Taylor, any road racing fans probably know about Motorsport already, but in case some of our audience hasn't heard of this place, give us the rundown.
Of course, and welcome everyone to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Canada's home of motorsport. This beautiful track is located in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada, with its 10 turns, 2.45 miles or 3.9 kilometers. This track opened in 1961 and has been home to many forms of racing, from sports car racing to even open wheel and also NASCAR racing. To give you the fan to see what it is like to take on this short but yet treacherous course, let's go on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Taylor Burris in the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Motorsport. Down into turn 1, this is a surprisingly fast downhill right-hander. Very little passing happens into here unless someone makes a big mistake. From out of there, you'll immediately switch back and set up for Clayton. It's a blind entry with a huge drop in elevation, but you've got to trust that your car will stick. Try not to understeer off as you reach the end of it, and before you know it, you're coming up to Quebec. This corner opens up on the exit, which means you can get to the power much sooner than you'd expect. That'll be important considering it'll take you down to the heavy braking zone of Moss. But before you reach that, you've got turn 4, which is another one that will plunge a long ways down. The compression at the bottom of the hill means you can brake surprisingly late. Passes are difficult, but keep your eyes peeled just in case. It's a double apex through Moss, and the second one will be absolutely critical to your lap. That hairpin dumps you onto the Andretti Straight, which is the longest acceleration zone of the track. While the GTE cars don't give off that big of a slipstream, because this is an uphill climb, being able to carry momentum off the previous corner will make a huge difference. At the end of this is the S's, which begins with a swift, long right-hand sweeper. Grip can sometimes be found on the outside, which offers a chance to make a sneak attack into turn 9 when it switches back. Finally, there's White's Corner, where you want to avoid taking too much curb because it's significantly tall. From there, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Mosport. There's the lap around Mosport from the perspective of the Ford. Of course, we have two other classes, one slower, one faster. They're each going to take it very differently than that Ford, and that could cause some confusion and a little bit of chaos. But before we get to all that, we have some things to go through. First of all, the championship points. Bill, what's it looking like?
Let's start off by talking about the fastest class. That's the prototypes. Now, keep in mind, we're 4 races in. You see those little 2 drop races above the points there that are darkened out? They're not highlighted. That means we're not taking into account drop races. And when we do, things are going to shuffle up a lot. McGarvey Stevens sits at the very top. He's yet to win. Not the case for Jason Girard. He's had a couple bad results, but he has won the last 2 times out. That's very close. Again, when drops start to be accounted for, things are going to shuffle out quite a bit. Billy Smith II hangs in there, 22 points back. Kevin O'Keefe falls down 3 spots, and then Liam Quinn, Mr. Excitement, up a bunch, sitting, cracking into the overlay here in 5th. Let's take a look now at the GTLMs, where it's a totally different story for Alex Simonik. Unlike McGarvey, who has yet to win, Alex Simonik has yet to lose, as he is 4 for 4. That's why he has that whopping 36-point lead over Mike Young, William Laster. Stephen McGarvey starting to make a move now, gets up into 4th position, and Jason DeVries, a little bit underwhelming so far. Watch for him to get more comfortable as the season goes along and make his presence known the back half of this schedule. Let's go to the GTDs now. This is the AMP standings. And Dawson Brock, again, this is really interesting. He has a 2-point lead over Mike Major. Dawson missed the first race. Not sure if he's showing up here again today. So again, drop race is going to play a major effect in the points when we start accounting for those. Dropping out of the lead is Mike Major. Kevin Santana, who's very, very much a veteran of this class and would like to get another championship down here in the GTDs, looking to move up as he'll incorporate back in 3rd. Shane Hunter and Tim McLeish are tied for 4th. Finally, the last thing we're going to look at is the team championship. Not a lot of movement here. A little swapping for 2nd position as SRN Gray swaps with Lambert West. This is really going to be determined as we go along. Still very much early days. SRN Orange out on top. The big news is Grizzly making a big surprise as they jump up 2 spots and crack into the top 5 for the first time. It's the Grizzly guys, Henderson, Wolf, Brock, and Vorosky. Brock doing the heavy lifting there. And then down his position is the warm-up lap guys. Kevin O'Keefe scoring big points for them. All right, Joe, that's a quick look at where we are. It's all going to change as we get farther along.
Yeah, especially once we start to talk about who is and isn't here. But before we get to that, we need to go to Taylor to get our audience up to speed as well on what exactly this race will be like.
Of course, as we are now finishing up through the American rounds here of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. This is round 5 of the 14-race season. We have 3 separate classes, similar to what we see in other series here on iRacing, with the prototypes, with the Honda HPD, LMP.
Sorry, we lost Taylor there for a moment. As looks like, as we said, we've got the 4 different makes of cars in the GTLM. Obviously, the most prolific of those. The setups on all of the cars are open, but they've also restricted the fuel on all the cars. And that will mean everybody will have at least 1 pit stop out here at Mosport for this 60-minute race. That is the sprint format. They also have an incident limit. And while you wouldn't think at a track as punishing as this, that would be something to worry about. The traffic causing some 4Xs along the way could really rack them up quickly. We'll get back to that in a second to talk about that. Bill, the qualifying is taking place for the prototypes. The overall pole is being contested. And it seems like that overall pole is going to be awful tight between Girard, who's been doing good this season, and a face that is familiar to you and I.
Yeah, after watching Game of Thrones last night, it's good to see Bob the Blade back here. So Blades always play an interesting part in that series. We're going with Robert Tinsey, number 34. His specialty is lap traffic, and he should be able to put that to good use here. You know, I went through the points in this prototype class. The one name that is conspicuously absent, conspicuous by its absence, is Cy Onder. We haven't seen him for the last couple times. He is not here today again, but the big names are all here: Gerard, Smith, Scott McGarvey, Big Cheese, John Ulmer here. So it should be a good one.
Absolutely. And Taylor, you were making note of a few drivers you weren't seeing here, and we were talking about this earlier. Down in the GTDs, your class, Brock is not here today from what we've seen. He's still got a little bit of time left in qualifying, and he could still take the race, but he'll be all the way at the back. This will definitely change things since he wasn't around for the first round.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be very difficult for Dawson Brock. I mean, he has several wins racked up for him this season, but
And we have a dropout from Taylor there. Yeah, I'll just pick up there as he dropped out of there. Paul Slavonic is making the big news down here as he's sitting at the top of the charts, Joe. You know, another driver to watch, Kevin Santana, the veteran down here. Another Trevor Vrosky is really good, too, for racing for Grizzly as that team continues to make its presence known.
Certainly has shown itself to be a force so far early on. As we switch over to Ulmer, looks like he took a lot of curb once we switched over to him. He's currently sitting third in the qualifying as he comes across the line. Not faster than his previous lap, which was a 105.6. That one was a 105.8, still looking very good. But back in New York, unfortunately, the cheese fell off the pizza once more, despite him having a win in the very first round. Dean Mole currently running in 7th. Unfortunately, that lap not going to count for him. We've talked about the GTDs. We talked about the prototypes a little bit. The GTLMs have already put theirs in. And we, yet again, the story of the day, Bill, is we're missing some people. And the big one there is the driver who has been nothing but winning all season.
Yeah, Simonic is not here. Of course, I'm talking about Alex Simonic. He has such a big lead he can afford. There's not going to be a lot of tears shed because he's not here. Big news, though, I talked about it in the opening, that we thought that Deep Freeze would be coming around, and sure enough, he's sitting at the fastest driver in the class right now. So we'll see how that plays out. You know, we were talking about Ulmer. I just want to follow up a little bit on that. He prides himself, Joe, I think he prides himself on being good on American tracks, not North American tracks, but American tracks. So I'm not sure that's going to translate up here to Canada. Big field in both the prototypes and GTLMs.
Yeah, and a big field here is sometimes bad news. It seems like we've got Taylor rejoining us once again. Hopefully we've got those internet issues sorted out. But Taylor, we always talk about it when we come here. Traffic. This track is a nightmare in multi-class. And for our audience that hasn't watched multi-class before, maybe explain a little bit why this is so tough to try and get by cars.
Well, due to the fact this is just a tight circuit here at Motorsport, drivers are going to have to be very careful of where to pick and choose when it's the best time to make the pass. You look at a corner like Moss, that is going to be an area where it's going to be not the best time to make those passes. Turn 1 might be okay, but the best opportunity for these drivers, especially in the prototype class, to make those moves is to wait till they get to the Mario Andretti back straightaway. That should be able to help them make up as much time as they can. But some drivers have to be a little bit more aggressive, especially late in the run. Drivers might have to make the dangerous moves, even though they might not want to. That's where these GTD and GTLM drivers are going to be needing to focus. Not what's going on in front of them a whole lot, but also what's going on right behind them, Joe.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, watch out for corner number 8, because there's going to be a lot of drivers, especially in the faster classes, who want to get the pass done. It's easy to get the pass done if you're close enough coming out of Moss, but you're going to see drivers really force the issue, because if you don't get it done into 8, which is really a good opportunity, then you got to wait through the S's, you got to wait through whites until you get back out onto the main straight. And so you might see a lot of people pushing the issue into 8 to make sure they don't have to wait.
We're heading up to 8 right now on board Leif Peterson. He's currently running in 7th. I'm giving watch to Robert Tinsey, who's still going, trying to take the pole away from Gerard, who is our current provisional pole sitter. Peterson's going to come around out of whites. This is a pretty good lap from what we're seeing. Where is this going to put him? And it's just barely faster, but it's enough to get him up to 6 past Mole. Going over to Tinsey now. Just coming up to halfway through the lap. Through Moss Corner. Girard's come back out on track to try and defend that pole. He's still got time. These laps go incredibly quickly. You can see running in 105s, 106s here in the prototype class, Bill. So they are going to be catching those slower classes incredibly quickly.
Yeah, it is. It's a small track. It will be very interesting how that plays out. You know, you talk about qualifying, Joe. There are some tracks where it really doesn't matter. Here, my goodness, if you can be on the pole, you're going to make your life a lot easier.
Certainly, less having to try and fight your way through. Last lap was not faster for Tinsey. I think Girard is on an out lap currently, so let's go to Cancian here. He's currently last of the drivers who's put in a time. I see Brandon Guadacia is here, but I do not think he's in the session currently. Not sure if he's going to take the grid today. So what has Cancian got underneath him to try and improve on that 12th position? A 106.8 is his fastest, and a 106.9 is just a 10th shy, unfortunately, for the 199. In fact, he dips a wheel off going through turn 1.
Yeah,
let's go back to Tinsey now. Go ahead there.
Yeah, with him going over into the grass, that will cost him to get a 1x to where that time will be disallowed. But as we're on board with Tinsey going down the Mario Andretti back straightaway here, he is doing a great job. He's currently sitting second. Let's see if he's able to maybe dethrone Jason Girard for pole position. Doing great through the S's as he sets up for whites, the final corner. This is a very difficult corner right here. You do not want to be going through there side by side, Joe, because that could cause a lot of contact and even a lot of controversy if you're not too careful.
That one didn't count for Robert, unfortunately. Billy Smith, who has not had a few good races after he won at Sebring, not been able to follow up on that performance, and he looks like currently he's going to be starting in 4th, but the time is running out. He's going to be able to start another lap if he needs it after this. Let's see what this lap produces. Out of whites and across the line, it is not faster, 106.1. Clock is ticking down, and checkered flag comes out. Dean Mole going to be the first across the line, and he does not improve. Then Carter Kundinger is going to be next. He sits in 10th place. Fastest lap for him, a 106.3. Unfortunately, not going to do him any better on the grid, though. Here's the one we want to see. Robert Tinsey, Bob the Blade, out of the S's into White's corner. He needs a 10th. 13 100ths of a second, really, to try and overtake the pole, and it's not going to do it, a 105.5.
I believe Scott McGarvey decides to come down pit road. He's not going to finish his lap. We still have Robert Cancian along with, I believe, Billy Smith out on track right now. Let's see what they're able to do. He messes up right there. The S is hard hit into the barriers.
I think he was just abandoning it. It looks like he got held up by Cancian into turn 8. So Cancian's going to be the last one to cross the line. And he does set a fastest time of 106.8, but that does not bump him out of 12th place. Is Kundinger going to be our last one across? Did he get across in time? So much has happened here. He's going to abandon anyway, so that's going to be it for Carter, who will stay in 10th position. That's going to end our qualifying here today and give us our starting order. So let's go to the grid, and Jason Girard is going to be up at the top. He has his old rival back, Robert Tinsey. Jason and Bob have certainly had a lot of tussles over the years. They're going to start on the front row. John Ulmer is going to be following them to see what he can do from 3rd place. Billy Smith on the outside of row 2 and 4th. Scott McGarvey, who continues to rack up podiums. He's had 3 second places in a row so far this season. He'll start from 5th. Leif Peterson will be next to him in P6 as he continues to get a hang of this car and continues to improve. Travis Henderson will be 7th at the drop of the green. Dean Mole will be 8th, and Mark Wilson will start 9th. Row 5 will be completed by Carter Kundinger there in P10. Then you've got Dale Green starting 11th and Robert Cancian, the last of the qualified cars in the prototypes, in 11th. Bill, or in 12th, rather.
Sitting 64 points out of the lead in 5th place, Jason DeVries is your pole sitter. He's going to be inside of Stephen McGarvey. Olivier Duquette is going to be in the next position, flanked by Dave Hill. Mike Young, 6 seconds of the points, 5th on the grid. He's going to be inside of Sheldon Rosenbaum. Lyndon Swaby is going to be in the next position. One of the Grizzly drivers, Joshua Howland-Wolf, outside of him, Daniel Gralty, and William Laster. Laster sitting third in the points. Ryan Huff, Matt Quinn, Paul Lindsay, Joseph Holman. There's a new driver for us, and Joey Trungale. Okay, Taylor?
Starting on the pole in your GTD class will be Paul Slavonik. Alongside him will be Kevin Santana. Starting in the third position, 33rd overall, will be Trevor Vavrowski. Starting in the fourth position, 34th overall, Armando Edwards. Fifth position in class will be Tim McLeish, followed by Shane Hunter in sixth in class. Mark Kudrowski will start in seventh. Lionel Duprat will start in the eighth position in class. Alongside him, Mike Majors will start in the ninth. 10th position will be started by Tyler Gilmet, with Gerard Gilbert right beside him.
Matt Owens will follow him with Art Peck starting 43rd overall. Then we get a few drivers that did not put times in: Ross Booth, Dino Topic, Brandon Guardacia, Marty Jeffries, and Alan Hasebeck. So we can see all the cars starting up on the grid, waiting for the Porsche pace car to take off, which it does just right now. So let's go to our picks, and we'll start with Bill. Who do you think is going to be able to take it away today?
All right, welcome back. Let's give him a welcome back present. Let's go with Bob the Blade, Robert Tinsey getting the win down there. Look down there at those next guys: DeVries, McGarvey, Olivier Ticard. Really, you can't go very far. I hate to be boring and go chalk here, but DeVries is going to win this one too. Don't expect a lot of excitement up front. The excitement's going to be a little farther down. Taylor, are you back?
I believe I'm back here, and I tell you what, it's going to be a little bit difficult to determine a winner here in the GTD class, but Paul Slavonik's been showing quite a lot of speed these past couple of races, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on Paul Slavonik taking home the win here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
I think Paul is a little bit overdue a victory. He's been showing some decent performances. Got robbed of a good finish over at Road Atlanta, and then, of course, really couldn't touch our leaders at Watkins Glen. Maybe he can do it today without Brock here to worry about. Already, you can see the cars working their way down the hill steeply from up at the top at the start-finish line, plunging all the way down to the bottom where the prototypes are now at the lowest point of the track on the entry into Moss. And then up the Andretti straight. This is where, as Taylor mentioned, many drivers going to be looking to try and overtake traffic. Bill, I am a little bit trepidatious about this one coming in. It seems like in the past we've hyped it up, and sometimes it's produced chaos, and sometimes it hasn't.
Yeah, honestly, for the most part, they tend to surprise us. When we worry, they tend to, not play to our fears, and then sometimes we feel really good about it, and we're caught by surprise. So, based on that, I think we're going to be okay. The only thing that worries me is the size of the field and the equal amount in classes here. There's going to be a lot of cars passing a lot of cars.
See how they all handle that in just a moment, because already the Porsche pace car is peeling off. Gerard has control of the field and streaking away, getting ahead to the lead. Gerard wastes no time challenging for second place. Tinsey ahead of Ulmer. They get into single file very quickly before they hit Clayton. Let's go to the GTLMs.
DeVries gets a great jump. Stephen McGarvey slots into second. Turcotte right behind him. Hill and Young very clean from the GTLMs. Taylor?
We got some trouble going into the back of the field right now. It looks like it's cleared up in the field, but as they come out of one, Slavonik was able to hold on as they make the run up to Clayton. Santana's holding strong in the second position, while Vavrowski is holding on in third as they make the climb up towards Clayton.
That was Lyndon Swaby, yeah, Joe.
And Laster was also involved in that. He's way off the pace. In fact, he's off the track even, as we see the prototypes already heading back up the backstretch, being led by Gerard towards turn 8. Tinsey nowhere near being able to overtake this time through. In fact, it is all single file all the way through the prototype field. They are just settling in. A little bit of a battle for third, though, in the GTLMs. Olivier Turcotte and Dave Hill fighting for that one. Hill's going to have to back out of it And they are going to get single file through the S's. This, to me, looks like a field that knows that they're gonna have plenty of opportunities, Bill, to try and overtake just due to the traffic.
Yeah, you just want to stay close to the guy you're chasing, and when he runs in, or when somebody's trying to go around him, or when he gets behind a slower car, make the move then. Really, really impressed with what McGarvey's done. He's had some trouble.
Looks like a spin out of Quebec.
Self-spin. Here's the good news. I don't think he hit anything.
He did not. He just touched the grass. You're going to see it as he exits the corner. Watch the left side of the car. Just that tiny little touch, and there he goes. Well, that puts him under the gun as he's gone all the way back, just finally overtook Dale Green, who himself had a spin shortly after, also didn't hit anything and got going.
Oh, we got trouble in Moss. We have several cars. That's Wawrowski as well as Santana. They made contact with Leif Peterson right coming out of Moss. We can get a replay of that.
Santana went around first, right in front of him. Yeah.
Peterson must have started from pit lane.
He did. It was just unsurprising right there. It was like Peterson did stick his nose right under Wawrowski, which he was able to almost complete the pass, but for some reason stuck his nose a little bit too deep with Santana. And there's the contact right there. I mean, it's surprising, but Wawrowski's got a little bit of damage to the side of his car. So he has to probably come down and maybe get that fixed when he comes for his pit stop later on. So we'll have to keep an eye on seeing what he does. But Paul Slavonic has now checked out from the field in this class. Great effort for him tonight.
That was just unfortunate timing for Peterson. Let's go back to Olivier Turcotte because he's been in some action. He's being followed by Dave Hill. And then look at this behind them. Mike Young, Sheldon Rosenbaum also hassling them.
Young doing the best in the points now. Turcotte has lost. In fact, here comes the pass from Hill looking in there. Hill's going to take a stab at it. I think he's going to get it done going into 8.
He's got the inside, but we've seen before that sometimes you can hold on to defend from the long way around, but I don't think that's going to happen this time. Turcotte's going to give it up.
And that Ford just umped his way right into that position. But these guys are losing touch with DeVries and McGarvey. If we can jump up to the leaders here, I got to give McGarvey credit for staying with them. He's just a car length back. And I don't think he's doing it. I think he's just going to wait. I've been watching him. I think he's happy to stay there.
Going to watch from McGarvey's view. Former champion in this series. And Jason DeVries as well. Watching in his mirrors as he gets hounded at every corner. They've stretched away by 2.5 seconds back to Hill in third position. They're all on their own, but how much longer are they going to have this track to themselves?
We ride on board here. The prototypes have all stretched out a little bit, which is really good for, in fact, we have a pitter in the prototypes coming in early. Not sure why Travis Henderson's coming in so early. That's going to let Kinsey picks up a spot.
He's got some damage. I'm checking to see where he got this. I see a car. There was a couple cars off ahead of him through Moss, but he didn't make contact with him. I know Canchin had an off. Billy Smith, of all people, also had an off. He fell down to 6th place. And now Dean Mole is in as well. Prototypes are having all sorts of issues. And our leader, our overall leader, has now caught the back of the GTD field.
Boy, and they are really working hard. Ulmer trying to stay with him as he says,
oh no, and Ulmer almost got hit by Lionel Duprat. I don't know if we saw that on screen. Well, that's one of the 9 lives that Ulmer can claim there. My goodness.
Yep. Duprat spins off.
I can even hear Ulmer's brain as he sees that car start to lose it. Not again. And then somehow narrowly avoids it.
Yeah, so Ulmer is clean, racing in third, doing his very best to hang on to the back of...
Ulmer's actually up to second now.
Yeah. My timing of scoring is slow to catch up here, yeah.
Oh, no. Canchin finds himself with a little bit of a battle. and unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be able to hold this car back too long. This is Robert Tinsey on his climb back through. So as they come up the backstretch, they're going to have a little bit of traffic. That's Gilbert, that's Hayesbeck. They're going to split him momentarily, and I think they're going to get by in time. Tinsey, though, is just going to wait patiently. Oh, no, he's not. Oh, that was definitely not patient, and now they have more traffic in the form of Art Peck. Certainly seeming to struggle to try and find his way by the number 199.
Bob has unsheathed the knife, and he's anxious to use it here. Great job from Hayesbeck and Gilbert as those traffic were going by. Each were taking a different racing line, but they each kept it right straight. Let the guys weave in and out.
A few more cars coming up. Ooh, defensive move from Canchin down into Moss Corner. Now they're slowed up as Mole up ahead of them, who is, I believe, laps down, is trying to work his way through Santana and Owens. This is looking a lot more promising.
If he can just get enough room to get out, he's going to have to do it on the outside.
Certainly had to squeeze in there.
He had to wait to clear Owens, and that didn't work. Now he gets a run. No! No!
He tried that last time. Into the tires he goes. Let's watch the replay on that.
That's optimistic.
I think the blade's a little rusty, Bill.
Wawrowski is in big trouble right now. He just had a major spin coming off.
Watching from on board, Bobby Tinsey. I thought he had this. I thought the long way around was going to work for him. He backed out of it, and he thought he had it too, apparently, as he stuck his nose in ambitiously. So we come back live. He's still in 8th position. In the meantime, we're watching Trevor Wawrowski. This is down to the GTD class. He's, unlike last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, down in 9th position. Instead of fighting for 2nd, he's giving chase on Santana and Owens. And in fact, Santana is going to overtake Owens easily into 8th. That happening down in the class of a driver who is very familiar with these cars. We've been joined by Dawson Brock, who was not able to race this week, but has managed to find his way up into the booth. Welcome here, Dawson. Sad to see you not out there racing, but I can't imagine you're too disappointed to miss out on the chaos of Mosport.
No, this is not my track, for sure. I just got home and I got a message to come in here quick, so I'm ready to go.
And on screen, you're seeing some more side-by-side between Wawrowski and Owens. Owens going to back out of it, let him through just as we see the LMP, or excuse, not the LMP one, I did it again, all the way into 5 races, as Dale Green was the HPD who unfortunately overshoots the corner and hits the wall. Well, Green thought he had this one. Comes in a little bit too hot. And then almost Dawson looked like a wise decision on the part of Owens to back out of it, seeing what happened to Green there.
Yeah, just take it easy. Don't get into a mistake here. I mean, from watching this series, it's being consistent pays off dividends later on in the race.
Green, unfortunately, heading into the pits right now after that damage to the car. Bill, it seems like the prototypes have really had the worst of Mosport's reputation so far.
Yeah, Jason Girard has worked his way halfway through a pinata full of bees. He's coming up behind 3 cars right now, Gralty, Wolf, and Rosenbaum. He gets one of them. Now, he cannot wait because it's only a second back is Ulmer. you can see, Ulmer now has him in sight.
He's trying to do everything he can as he goes by Sheldon Rosenbaum, Josh Wolf, who certainly had his fair bit of troubles with multi-class traffic this season in this series. Meanwhile, Rosenbaum a little bit wide off that corner. You can see that. Oh, and Wolf goes off and into the tires. It wasn't multi-class traffic this time. It was racing cars within his own class.
He was way offline, and then there was no room for error once the car started to slide. It wasn't long before he got to the grass.
Unfortunate to see. As we come back live, it certainly is taking him a while to get him going because he's at a blind corner and he's trying to find a gap in the traffic, but he's just not getting it. I mean, credit to Josh for waiting patiently to try to get the car going safely, but it is costly.
Let's go back up to Gerard when we get a chance, because we'll have a... Oh, go ahead, Taylor.
Sorry. No, this is Travis Henderson and another car got into each other down through turn 4, trying to figure out who this is. This was... this was Trevor Vavrovsky. Vavrovsky with a big incident. And watch on the replay. Oh, he tried to...
teammates.
Oh, no.
Henderson tried to go up his inside. Oh, no.
You can see him turn in here, the number 10. Suddenly, there's the HPD there. A lack of communication between the teammates, and he finds himself slamming into the tires.
And when he comes back out, now that's the leader. That's Gerard going around him right now. He got out right in front of the prototype leaders.
Ulmer's still giving chase, and he's only 1.5 seconds back. They've checked out from everybody behind them. They're about 5.5 seconds ahead of Scott McGarvey. But in typical Scott McGarvey fashion, he's already on the podium, even though he qualified 5th.
Can we peek in on 9th overall, Jason DeVries, number 1 in the... Now McGarvey's starting to pester him a bit. He's been following him, and now he's starting to get cranky.
Yeah, he's been following about this closely the entire race, but we haven't really seen any moves. He's just been hanging in the tire tracks of our leader in the GTLM class. They're coming up on a little bit of traffic from the GTD class. That is Vavrovsky, who we just saw have an off briefly ago. And now they're going to have Scott McGarvey coming up behind them.
Not to be confused with Stephen McGarvey.
Yep, the two brothers going by each other, 3 wide for a brief moment as Vavrovsky tries to stay off to the side, and they're all going to get through cleanly.
So there are pit stops. Maybe McGarvey's just going to sit back there for now, save a little fuel, see if he can spend a little less time in pit lane, although he's got a really good run. Okay, this will tell me a lot. If he wants it, yeah, he doesn't want it.
And
good racing going on.
This is probably the closest fight we've seen for the lead as McGarvey gets split by Carter Kundinger coming between the two GTLM leaders. The closest fight we've seen for the lead in GTLM without Simonik here this time. And that was also a little bit scary with the GTD car of Art Peck trying to stay off to the side down through 4, but they both navigated successfully. Dawson, did you have any chance to practice with the both GTD and GTLM cars here at Mosport? Is it tough to try and get by each other? Because sometimes they're very close on pace, these two tin tops.
No, I didn't get a chance to run with any of the GTLM cars, but I can already, even if the cars are somewhat close, there's not many passing zones here. It's a lot of flowing and fast corners where you can, if you get somebody on your inside, you're going to blow the corner and you're going to have to drive it completely different. Not many lines around here. So I can only imagine anybody trying to make a pass, even if they're close or pretty far apart, like we saw earlier with Vavrovsky and Henderson and the HTPD, it can be really tough.
through turn one there. That was McGarvey having to let Mark Wilson through. This traffic really hurting him. Oh, and a car off track. That was Guillemette. Guillemette, who's now down to 33rd overall. He must have had an off.
Scott McGarvey in third just got together. We'll come back and get that one. He was third in the prototypes. We'll get so much action. We'll get him when we can.
Oh, looks like this happened in turn one for Guillemette. So it happened even before Clayton Corner, where he eventually called it quits. You could see he just pulled off. So whatever this incident did, it happened here. Let's see if maybe he just touched the grass. Yes, indeed. Scott McGarvey had the other issue that we're looking for. What happened, Bill?
He was racing in third, was trying to make a move on a lap car. They got together. He spun, made a little bit of contact. He loses the spot to Carter Kundinger. We'll back up a little bit. So much action going on. We can't cover them all, but this one, McGarvey was really starting to make inroads in on Gerard and Ulmer. And then this happened. This is the lap traffic. We've been talking about it. Boy, the car just wouldn't stay tight.
And that was very un-McGarvey-like. He's known for staying out of trouble and just picking up spots by attrition. And he's just now wrecked. He's wrecked coming into Moss Corner. And he might have to call it a day because that is big damage on the prototype.
Got a little bit out of rhythm. Oh, this will be good.
He's all by himself.
There you have it. Yep.
Oh. Well, this could greatly affect his championship. I just was commenting on his consistency and staying out of trouble to get good finishes. One bad finish is the exact thing he doesn't need in the points fight. And Ulmer's our leader now. Gerard having trouble with traffic. It was William Laster ahead of him at exactly the wrong time. Oh my goodness.
All things considered, Gerard only losing a position. He's got to consider himself lucky.
So we come back live. Don't have time for the onboard. That would have been amazing to see from Laster. Gerard is giving chase, and he's had pace so far. He hasn't left Ulmer completely in the dust, but I get the feeling that he's going to be right back on top of the big cheese.
So look what just happened in the prototypes. A second ago, we saw that the driver in third, that was Scott McGarvey, he's out. Then you saw Jason Gerard have an issue from the lead. We still got 40 minutes of racing to go. Don't go away.
Our leader in the meantime up at the front of the GTDs is now Armando Edwards. When did we miss this change? Dawson, did you happen to catch what happened?
Yeah, Slavonic, he's out of the race right now. He's got front end damage sitting on pit road. I believe his day is done.
Wow. Well, we'll have to go back a little later to try and figure out what happened to Slavonic. He absolutely has no luck in this series. Armando Edwards. He could use a little bit of a turnaround in luck himself this season, and I think this is exactly what he's looking for. In the meantime, Ryan Huff has come in the GTLM class just as Sheldon Rosenbaum is turned around on the front stretch. This is the Motorsport we've come to know and love. He's pulling an Austin Powers, honestly. He's got to go a long way back. Paul Lindsay got a bit of him coming out of White's corner. Here we're going to see it. Rosenbaum and the replay just heading up to turn 8. This is going to happen out of the final corner. And it looks like, Bill, he's going to get a little loose coming off of there, and the car snaps twice.
Yeah, boy, the attrition is really hitting hard.
Back across the track, and that was, I just called it out. Now I can't remember who it was that ran into him, but obviously a bad day for both drivers. Rosenbaum continuing, but down in 9th position. Down to the battle for the lead in the GTLMs. It is De Vries leading McGarvey.
And while this is not as exciting as you may think, as I just don't think Steven has any intention of making this pass until after the pit stops.
I get the sense that he's up to something here.
Once they get their fuel and then he's out in front, then things are going to change a little bit. But he's happy where he is right now. And honestly, he might be faster. Just to follow up on Slavonic. I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, right now we got Kevin Santana chasing down Shane Hunter. This has kind of been developing slowly, and Santana has done a great job to catch up to Shane. We'll just have to see where he decides to make this pass. It's a really tough course.
He's hanging right with the car of Shane Hunter. Last week it was reversed, where Shane was doing the chasing. Now Kevin Santana, as he closes in, coming through Quebec, sizing him up, looking to plunge downhill through 4 into Moss Corner. Sometimes passes happen into here. I think he's a little too far back for that this time. Maybe Dawson looking to just square off this hairpin.
Yeah, just get a good run down this straightaway here. Oh, it looks like Hunter does a great job to get out of it. We'll see if the draft is going to be able to help Santana.
He's trying to stay within that slipstream. It is a steep uphill climb up this straight. Oh, he's closing in. They're coming up to turn 8. He's looking to the inside. He's going to try it. Can Hunter hold on to it? No, immediately pulls out of it and gets back into line. That gives P3 to Kevin Santana.
You know, that's not a bad choice by Shane Hunter to just get out of it there. Now get back in your rhythm and watch what Santana is doing. Santana closed up on him pretty fast, so watch him for a couple of laps and try and stick with him and use that draft.
This is great news for Santana, who had a horrible qualifying, if I'm not mistaken this time. No, excuse me, that was Major I was thinking of, who qualified poorly. Regardless, Santana keeping himself in the hunt. Coming up to the GTLMs now. Looking back at Matt Quinn. This is for 10th place. I believe that's our leader. No, that was Tinsey going by on his recovery drive, almost making it 3 wide. He's trying to run away from Billy Smith, who is chasing him as these two are battling, and Smith dives it up the inside of Matt Quinn, barely eking through White's corner in time. Let's watch from Smith's perspective there. Bill, you like the you make the call thing. Was this a good move, or is this too much?
Yeah, this is Billy Smith not happy where he is in the standings right now. He's expecting to be a little bit better.
I guess the debate on if it's a good move or not is if everybody got away from it, and everybody did. So Smith continuing to put aggressive moves in.
Joe, we were optimistic. I was hoping maybe we'd have a peaceful one. This one is just jam packed with action.
Oh, it certainly is.
Just as all that has been happening, Kevin Santana has had an off, and he has dropped spots.
And in fact, that's a battle for position right now that you see with Kudrowski side by side coming out of Quebec. Kudrowski and the black and green machine. The orange and black car of Kevin Santana backs out before they hit Moss Corner. He's going to set him up for the backstretch. He made this move not that long ago for 3rd place. This time, though, it's going to be for 4th. Dawson, as you said, him losing that podium spot just with that one mistake.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what corner it was, but it was about a lap ago, and it looked like he just overshot the corner and made a mistake. Now he's going to have another uphill battle to try and get back to that podium.
Kudrowski not as compliant. He's going to chop down to the apex in front of Kevin Santana. Jason Gerard, P2 in the prototypes, comes up the inside of White's corner and splits them momentarily.
Tell you from experience, you can be trying to set up passes, and as fast as those P2 cars come up on you, you don't even realize it. It's a last second flash of gray right next to you, and you just got to make it work with as you're going.
They're trying to make whatever they can out of this topsy-turvy race. They're going to have Dave Hill, who's third in the GTLMs. A very quiet podium so far for Dave Hill, trying to work his way through, showing just how tough it is to try and overtake that other tin top class, as he has to wait patiently behind this fight for fourth. Watch from Dave's perspective as he tries to give them space. But the Canadian driver on his home track probably doesn't want to throw this one away, especially this early. Side-by-side action as they come up to turn 8. Kevin Santana looking to go the long way around of Mark Kudrowski. Gives him a little shove just as Hill says, it's my time to come through. I can't waste any more behind you two. And he gets one. Now he's going to try and get by Mark Kudrowski. He gets his nose in, down into turn 1. Now he gets 2.
Hill in third. He's got a comfortable gap back to Young, so he could take his time there as much as he could. He's got 5 seconds before Matt Young gets up there. Okay, now up to DeVries and McGarvey. DeVries had opened up about almost a second lead as he snuck through just a bunch of traffic and left McGarvey behind. McGarvey had to work, and now he's right back on the tail of DeVries again. I think Steven is really comfortable right now. He likes what's going on. He was able to run him down, and I think once the pit stops is done, even if he doesn't get the pass made in pit lane, he's going to be fine.
Meanwhile, it looks like Tinsey, who's continuing to try to play catch-up, is on the back of Wilson. This is for 4th place. So Tinsey's actually could potentially get himself up to a podium, depending on if he's fast enough to chase down Kundinger. So we watch them almost go 3 wide. And actually, that's Billy Smith. That's also for position. Smith is going to take advantage. Oh, 2 positions in 1 corner for Mark Wilson. He's got to wondering what's going on as 2 very fast drivers scream on by.
Tinsey qualified in 2nd, Smith in 4th. Both of those guys have trouble. They're farther back than they want. Next up is Kundinger. That's about 10 seconds with 30 minutes to go. Plenty of time for Tinsey to get there, believe it or not.
Dawson, in a lot of cases we've seen, at least with the GTDs, maybe not necessarily as much with the other classes, it seems like the drivers tend to like to go until the tank is out and run it long. I mean, is there any advantage to doing that here with there just being no relief from the traffic? Is it kind of more open in terms of pit strategy?
Well, not really. I mean, it's always been the preferred way because you get these cars when they're light. And as we look here, Kevin Santana trying to make a move on Kudrowski right now, side by side. Let's see if Santana's going to finally be able to make this pass. No. Maybe back over with the crossover.
Oh, and another little bit of contact. That's the second time we've seen that.
Pit stop.
There you go.
But yeah, just right as I was saying, these GTD cars, it's definitely an advantage to have the car lighter. The only way that I've ever tried to pit earlier is if I can avoid traffic.
Let's go up to DeVries real quick. He's going to finally do it. McGarvey's waited. He's had enough.
Santana did not stop.
Yeah, we've got this battle on screen. We can't leave this right now. Almost losing it. McGarvey wobbling under, braking down in a Moss corner. Can he gun it off of there? DeVries is going to follow him. He's going to have the slipstream. Carter Kundinger, third in the prototypes, is giving watch. He's got to be careful. This is going to get really intense between these 2 drivers, poking his nose to the outside. We've got Jason DeVries working on Stephen McGarvey coming into turn 8. McGarvey's going to have the inside of the first corner, and he'll get the spot back. He's worked a long time for this one. I think McGarvey's got it now.
Now let's see what he can do with it. My guess is it's getting close to pit stop time, and that's why he decided to finally make the move. He doesn't care if he follows them around, but when it's time to pit, that's when I want to go.
Sorry to cut you off there, Dawson. What exactly happened with Santana in the pit stops?
Well, it looked like it was a planned stop. He went in and it looked like he was ready for his box, but then he came back out and never stopped. So what I'm assuming here is we're going to see, yep, this time he's coming into the pits. I believe he missed his stall. So a big mistake for Santana. That's going to cost him a bunch of time as he has that first pit stall.
Oh,
and
no.
oh man, that is a tough pit style to catch.
We've seen that before at this very track, almost the exact same situation. A driver in contention for a win. And was that the Comet Bill that we saw do that a couple seasons ago? I want to say it was.
One of his ways to throw away a race. Yeah, we learned a lot.
Ooh, Gerard is in.
He had really closed up on the back of Ulmer. Ulmer was coming up on a swarm of cars. Gerard decided to come in right before Ulmer got there. This could be, Ulmer might have been lost a lot of time in traffic. This might be a really smart move from Jason. Now, Ulmer's got through it, but he had to get through Gralty and Huff and Hasteback and Mole.
They've been running a torrid pace to stay up front. Carter Kundinger's 21 seconds behind as Gerard has come back out, and he'll be in fourth, just behind Robert Tinsley, a pit stop ahead of the number 34. Well, that doesn't bode well for Bob the Blade.
No, it does not. And actually, Tinsley's losing ground to Kundinger. I thought might be able to run him down. That gap's now 11 seconds.
It's like Wilson and Canchin taking their stops. I can report that Ulmer stays out. Oh no, Gerard! Yep. This was in Moss Corner. He doesn't hit anything.
That was, he got right up. That was DeVries he got behind. They were coming up now.
And Tinsley.
Yeah, right. DeVries and there's Tinsley was behind DeVries and McGarvey in that battle we've been watching.
He was lucky he didn't high center it going over that tall curb on the inside of Moss's second apex. He's able to keep going, but I don't think we're going to see him able to leapfrog Ulmer after that.
Nope.
Granted, the way things have been going, Ulmer himself could also have some issues that could hand it right back to him. Looking down at Hayspec and Gilbert fighting for P5 in the GTDs, about 3/4 of a second apart from each other. This is a battle for fifth, Dawson, between these two, and neither have pit yet.
Yep, they're going to be having to pit here within the next couple of laps. Right around that 40-minute mark is where these GTD cars have to pit by, unless they've been in fuel-saving mode, which is not really a popular option. So we'll look here, both cars going to stay out. You know, these two cars, they drive so differently, this Audi and Mercedes.
Yeah, it seems that that was the consensus from a lot of drivers heading into the season, that it was drastically different, and so it really was a preference thing. Although it does seem like a lot of drivers do like that Mercedes more with their prominence in the field. Kundinger in the meantime.
Gerard able to go by even with the spin, so Gerard remains in second of all the cars who have pitted. Question is Carter going to get before Tinsley gets there, and I think he's easily going to get out.
Oh yeah, way ahead of Tinsley. He's about half a track around. So we're waiting on Tinsley and Ulmer. And Ulmer's in.
Ulmer now. And with the mistake from Gerard, the big cheese can take his time in here. This get everything right.
Watching Gerard just in case. He's coming up the backstretch. There's a lot of traffic in pit lane, though. Ulmer hits his stall regardless. Gerard's now hitting turn 8 into the S's. The SRN Motorsports gray driver coming around the final corner. Ulmer is still stationary. Just finished his stall. He's coming out now. Where's Tinsley? Or excuse me, Gerard. Gerard comes into turn 1. Ulmer is out, and he is well ahead. It's a good stop for the big cheese.
If it wasn't for the mistake from Gerard, that would have been a lot closer. Let's tell you the story about Stephen McGarvey, car number 23, leading in the GTLMs. Look what has happened since he's got around DeVries. He started to open it up.
Certainly has, and Stephen may have been waiting for that for a long time, and now thinks that it is time to pounce. It is cleared up for him. Oh, and remember we were wondering about Tinsey pitting. Well, he has come out right behind Billy Smith, and he is giving chase. Indeed, he's actually got quite a bit of traffic in front of him in the form of Santana and Trungale. Those are two different classes, so that's not a battle for position. He's going to get by. That cost him, though. He was right behind Smith. Now it is 2.2 seconds between them.
But Tinsey needs not to fret because there's more traffic ahead for Billy Smith, so it just keeps coming. It's like laundry. It never stops.
23 minutes left on the clock. We're still waiting for a few cars to take their stops. That includes our leaders in the GTLMs, McGarvey and DeVries, as well as the last car on the podium, Dave Hill. Our two leaders in the GTDs, Armando Edwards, who, poor Armando,
Art Peck is around. Art Peck, he's
number
spun it.
36.
place in class, yeah. GTD car. Oh, and this was very similar to Tinsey's incident early on.
We'll have to see. It's really hard to get these turned around. That traction control, a wide turn.
Yeah, he pulls it across the track, and then he gets it going. Let's see if he caused anybody a little bit of a headache here. Wow, this turns out to be one of the worst places, it seems, Dawson, to try and get the car turned around.
And this car, I mean, it's that traction control, unless you have a button map to turn it off, it's really hard to get this spun around.
Eventually, he does, pulling a long, wide turn to get it going, and he continues in 9th place, but way behind where he was before.
DeVries had fallen off almost 2 seconds behind McGarvey. DeVries just makes his pit stop now. McGarvey out there hot lapping. I don't think there's any possibility of DeVries doing a undercut here.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, drivers aren't getting fresh tires in these 60-minute races, so not going to see much undercut. We're riding on board with our leader in the GTLMs, number 23, riding a calculated race. DeVries returns to the track only in 3rd place. It's only overtaken by Dave Hill. Paul Lindsay, who's 4th, was a whole pit stop behind. And what I was about to mention before we had the action with Art Peck, Dawson, Armando Edwards, who we really haven't talked about a whole lot, and he may want it that way, has been running a great race with the lead here in GTD.
Yeah, and Tim McCleish, don't count him out either. He's been running great too, just behind Armando, and both of these cars still have to make a pit stop yet. So the chance for missing a pit stall, anything, this is still not in the bag. So Armando Edwards, though, doing a great job. We'll see if he can continue and finish this one out.
As we watch him work his way around the track with 20 minutes left to go, still yet to take his stop. McLeish following 3.5 seconds back, also needing to come in, and I think McLeish is in now. You see the number 95 coming down pit lane. Hopefully didn't miss his stall as well, as he looks for it. For those that aren't familiar, iRacing places you according to your qualifying, and you share pit stalls with this many cars on track, hence why we're seeing drivers, and he's all the way at the front, who come in and don't seem to know where they're supposed to stop. I really wish iRacing had a way to easily tell you that before you take to the grid.
Your problem is, the trick is just don't qualify fast. You always know you're right there. The pit stop's right there when you come in.
Not when you share stalls, though. That's what I was just saying.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Because it cycles back through. He gets going once more.
Now, I know some people have a third-party software that have a crew chief that'll count you down boxes so that you know where you're going to be. And I know Josh Wolf, he's one who runs with it, and he says he loves it.
We'll have to get a hold of that software and maybe hand it around to some of these poor drivers, especially at places like Mosport. I think we've had all of our prototypes take their stops, so they're good on that. We're just, at this point, waiting for the rest of the field. So, Stephen McGarvey currently running with an 8-second lead over the driver who was in 3rd and the GTLMs, Dave Hill, who's now been promoted to second since we've had DeVries come in. Deep Freeze has a little bit more of a challenge here than he had over in the LMP1s last season.
He got beat. We're not a long way from being done, but over the first 40 minutes of this race, McGarvey's had his number.
Watching him head through the S's. He's got a couple cars up in front of him, and he's thinking now's a good time as any to come in for his stop.
I'll tell you what, we're looking at him coming in.
Hill's coming in.
Yeah. I just saw something I don't see very often. That is John Ulmer being patient. He was behind some cars. He must have said, all right, I got 5 seconds. I'm just going to take my time. Tip of the hat to him. Well done.
There's our overall leader. As mentioned, about 5 seconds back to Jason Girard. Girard has won the last 2 rounds to get himself back in the hunt. Ulmer has had some atrocious rounds ever since his win at Daytona. In fact, looking at his finishes for Ulmer, it's been a 14th place, a 13th place, and an 11th place. He hasn't cracked the top 10 since he won that first round. Still waiting on Armando.
He's been stretching that fuel, and it can only help him. We'll have to see what the difference is when he comes out in front of McLeish.
He's not alone. Hacebeck and Owens also are yet to pit. Those are the 3 drivers in the entire field that have not come in. And while we wait for them to pit, I can report that the attrition has been monumental. We've lost Swaby, Major, Homan, Jeffries, Green, Henderson, Wolf, Vovrosky, Laster, McGarvey is out. Mike Young is out. A number of drivers have actually taken extensive repairs to try and come back and see if they can salvage a finish.
Here comes Armando Edwards into the pits. We're going to have to see. Now, if he has been able to stretch his fuel a little longer than the other people, I'm not sure. Maybe other people bringing in early, but if he's able to stretch this fuel, this stop will be shorter, and that's going to pay big time on the track.
Let's see what Tim McLeish has for him as we wait for Edwards to finish that stop for fuel. Tim is coming out of whites. And with Edwards right up front at the pit lane, he's got a good gap back to the number 95 of Tim McLeish. All he's got to do at this point is cruise home to victory and not get tongue-tied like me.
I tell you what, that gap has increased, so Edwards doing a great job.
We had a little bit of side-by-side action between Wilson and Canchin coming through Clayton Corner. That's not often you see that come out, and actually that was 3 wide. Can we get a replay of this one? This was with one of our Audis in the GTD class. It was Gerard Gilbert who they were trying to get by. Here you're going to see it right here. This is some bravery. Tries to go the long way around. I think he was a little bit in the marbles. There was Canchin. And he doesn't manage to get by Wilson, though he's still with him now. A little bit more traffic in front of Wilson, and this is what caused that action before. This time it's Tim McLeish. They definitely don't want to trip Tim up. He's going to let one through. Canchin coming out of whites. Now he gets through, but he's a lot closer. This is for 6th place in these prototypes.
Put up on Paul Lindsay. Lindsay goes at the track left, leaves the inside open. Nice job, Paul.
We're going to give this a little bit to see if this gets close, because it seems like it's creeping together. Afterwards, we'll give you a rundown of the field now that we've done pit stops. But Mark Wilson is very much under threat. Canchin taking it nice down to the apex. Unfortunately, not able to do anything.
Coming up on the GTD leader here.
It's Edwards just ahead of them. I think one's going to get by. I'm not sure that both are going to get by before the corner. Edwards going to hug the right side of the track. He sees them coming, lets them through. Nicely done by Armando.
Really well done.
Well, I'm not sure that this one is really going to pick up, so we'll break in if it does. Let's give you a quick rundown of things, how this race has been developing. John Ulmer, who qualified in 3rd position, held onto it as others had problems, and almost reverse of what we tend to see for the Big Cheese. He's taken advantage of everybody else falling by the wayside and is currently leading the way, but it is not by much. Gerard, who is 5 seconds back, has closed it down to 1 second. They're trying to weave their way through traffic. Gerard put this one on pole and is trying to get back up to that spot desperately to take another victory. Carter Kundinger is way behind them. That incredible pace has separated them by 25 seconds, but Kundinger still is on the podium despite being a long ways back. It is Billy Smith trying to run his way through. He's back to where he started. He's in 4th place, but it has not been a clean run for the 901. And the top 5 of the prototypes is rounded out by a driver who has returned after a long absence, Robert Tinsey, unfortunately causing his own problems today for the most part. Let's go to the GTLMs.
Early on, Stephen McGarvey was racing like your little sister. What you doing now? What you doing now? What you doing now? Just on the back of DeVries. He made the pass on DeVries. Pit stops are done, and now he starts to drive away up by 4 seconds on Deep Freeze. Jason back in 2nd position in class after leading early. We'll go back to 3rd position. Once it was Olivier Ducat had issues, it opened the door for Dave Hill to vulture that podium's position. He races now 3rd in class, 12 seconds up on Daniel Gralty. Gralty comfortable in 4th. He's got 4-second gap over Ryan Hoff, who is also comfortable in that top 5 position. Matt Quinn well back about 5 seconds. All right, Dawson.
All right, so in GTD, we've had a little bit of attrition here. 6 cars so far not making the end of this race, but it's still having great racing, so let's get to it. Armando Edwards doing a great job in this race, running clean, and he has a decent lead to the 2nd place car of Tim McLeish. But you never know, if Armando slips up, McLeish will be there to strike. Now, GTD P3, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, and we still have some racing to go. Mark Kedrowski is having a good race, but Shane Hunter is right there, ready to get onto that podium. We saw him and Santana trying to fight earlier. As we talk about Santana, he is in P5, rounding out your top 5. Couple of mistakes for him throughout this race, but able to recover and get a top 5. As long as he can finish this race, guys, he should be able to recover from what was a bad race.
Going back to that battle for 3rd in the GTDs as we look at Kedrowski. Bill, break in if Gerard gets back up to Omer, because I keep seeing that getting pretty tight.
Yep.
But right now, our eyes are on the fight for the podium. In the amateur category is actually Dean Mole comes in. You can see how quickly they close up through these fast corners, Dawson.
Yeah, and there was a moment in time where this race for the final podium spot was really close, but I believe a P2 car came in and split them up, so Shane Hunter was set back, and he was about 2 or 3 seconds out. Now he's slowly trying to work his way back, and that's just how it is in these GTD cars. 1 lap, you can lose 2 seconds just because of traffic, so you've got to be able to battle with that, and we'll see, maybe this P2 car can slow down Kedrowski. Oh, looks like he'll be patient, so I'll make sure I keep an eye on this, and I'll let you guys know if anything gets any closer.
It's a lot fewer cars on track, and I think the ones left are the patient ones from what we've seen. Everybody just trying to run their race to the checkered flag, and they've only got 10 more minutes to take care of to do that. Going up to Hayspec and Owens, actually down to Hayspec and Owens. This is jumping past Kevin Santana in 5th. This is the battle for 6th position in the GTDs.
Yeah, but this is very similar to what Kedrowski and Hunter were going with, about the same gap, maybe a little closer. And this is right where you can get into that draft and kind of hook on and ride for a while and wait for the guy in front of you to make a mistake. Whereas if you make a mistake, that draft will pull you back, especially on this long straightaway here.
And they're going to have, I believe, yes, our overall leader coming up behind them. Ulmer is trying to run away right now, so though he was patient before, that was decisive. Look at that. Just sliced through like it was nothing. And now on top of it, Gerard has a 3-wide situation on his hands. Owens looking to the inside of Alan Hayspec, but it doesn't quite work out because Huff is in there. Now he gets one, and Hayspec goes all the way off track, holds onto the car, holds onto the position, still dealing with things. He drifts wide through Clayton and somehow manages to hold off Owens, Dawson.
Now here he is right to his bumper. Owens going to come out a little bit wide. Boy, look at that. Just how quickly traffic can turn a 1-second gap into side-by-side racing.
Incredible stuff. I can't believe that Hayspec did not lose that and all of the craziness going on. He's going to get another opportunity because he looks really good off of the Moss hairpin. Matt Owens is sizing this one up. He really wants to get by. They're let by the slower traffic of Lionel Duprat, who had big problems early on, missing his hood. Gaining, Matt Owens peeks to the inside, down into turn 1. Alan Hayspec says not quite.
But even just that little peak, it was enough to throw Hayspec's line just a little bit off. Wasn't able to apex that corner like he would want to. Owens has just got to keep trying and looking for little opportunities.
So let's stay with this because this is a great battle. But real quick, Bill, I want to touch on our overall lead. That is surprisingly spread apart.
Well, here's what happened. Gerard had got it down to 1.2 seconds, but then you saw what happened where he ran up between slower traffic that was 3 wide on the front straight.
Here we go.
Look at that battle continue there.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of a peek to the inside down through Quebec because that was Lee Peterson having to separate them. We're going to watch from Owens' perspective now.
Just follow up on Gerard. It's one thing to wait when you're going through like the technical sections. For these prototypes, Gerard actually had to hit the brakes on the straightaway. Just cost him literally 2 seconds in time.
Following Hayspec, back up the Mario Andretti straight. Now it's going to be Matt Quinn in his Ferrari from the GTLM class that has to get by. This could also be a little bit more annoying for these two.
Guys, time is running out. Owens has got to get aggressive here if he wants to try and make this pass.
You're thinking of the exact. I was just about to address that. He's losing opportunities, and this is certainly not going to help him because here goes that Ferrari. Quinn gets by one. Can he get by the other? If he wants to, this is not going to be good news for Hayspec. He thinks about it. He does have his nose in. Hayspec lets him through. And they're all going to get through fine. That was beautifully orchestrated.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, up in the prototypes, Cancian, he's having to think about going by Wilson, but Wilson retains the position coming through 8 and 9. But this is another one that has been tight for a long time.
Yeah, Wilson has been sitting 6th in class for a long time. Here's a pretty good run, though, from Cancian, but too far back to make the move again. Running out of time with under 6 minutes of racing to go.
This has zipped by. Oh, and they've got a lot of traffic in front. This is Hunter and McGarvey in front of them. Hunter's going to stay off to the right side. Wilson trying to go the long way around, a little bit into the marbles, and this holds up Robert Cancian. He eventually gets through. Wilson now gets by another of the GTDs. That's Gilbert holding out of the way. Then they've got Stephen McGarvey in front of them. Mark Kudrowski as well.
Now, Kudrowski has been really working hard because he only had Hunter. Hunter was only a second back. Is there going to be room for them to go through? There goes one. There goes two. You got to keep your line there.
Nicely done. Those are 2 different classes as well. So all 3 classes represented in one pass.
But right behind Hunter now, Kudrowski sits in 3rd. It's just it's 2 seconds now back to Hunter, who got crushed in traffic.
Kudrowski still in that podium position. Can't do much looking up in front of him. McLeish about 12 seconds ahead. At this point, it's trying to retain this podium spot.
See those lights flashing? That's John Ulmer.
Still got about 1.7 seconds. Back to Gerard does Ulmer.
If if Gerard, unless Ulmer's maybe just minding the gap, but if Gerard wasn't stuck behind that wall down the front straight, he would have been there. Ulmer coming up behind Stephen McGarvey now, 2 leaders.
He sends that one in deep, and McGarvey has to give way, but they both manage it very well.
1 point. It's down to a second now. I'm not sure if Gerard doesn't going to be able to get him down. He's coming. Now it's 0.8 of a second. Here he comes.
Let's stay with this. Gerard really wants to try and take this victory back. He's the only other driver besides Ulmer and Smith who have won this season in the prototypes, and he's looking to make it 3 wins out of 5 races so far. Gerard follows him, plunging down through the first corner into the crest of Clayton. What else do they have in front of them? Tim McLeish is going to be coming up next, and then they're going to have to lap their own class, a battle for position even in the form of Kanchan and Wilson.
Remember that battle we were looking at, Wilson and Kanchan? I'm not sure he's going to get there, but we'll see. Hopefully, Ulmer hopes he doesn't. My goodness, Gerard now within car lanes.
Wow. I think on sheer pace without traffic, Gerard looks much faster. He's right with him now. This could be the best opportunity we've seen. That's McLeish. That's our second place driver in the GTDs. They both get around. Gerard following up towards turn 8. He didn't gain a lot, even though he had a slipstream up the hill. Bill, I wonder if Gerard's got more wing in it, and it's through these twisty bits that he's able to deal with it better.
They come through. They're going to go underneath there, the flag, with 2 minutes to go. I think this and one more.
Yeah, 2 laps left. Gerard set the fastest lap of the race that time by. You think he's got the bit between his teeth, Bill?
I think so. They work around another leader. They go around Armando Edwards.
Oh, but look at that. Put Jason Gerard off the racing line just a little bit. So he loses all that time that he gained. It is back up to 0.8 of a second.
And I'll be darned, I think they are going to get to Wilson and
I'm
Kanchan.
pretty sure they are, yeah. It's going to be the white flag. This actually could be the deciding factor. How aware are Mark and Robert of what's going on behind them?
And these guys have been battling. Wilson and Kanchan have been battling for the entire race. They come up now behind Giamette. They get, oh no, there's going to get slowed down there. That's going to let the leaders get there even faster. Oh, and look at the apex that Ulmer didn't get to.
I don't think it really helped Gerard all that much
No.
either. Guillemette going to let them by. 1 lap to go now. John Ulmer with a scant 0.3 of a second trying to take the victory. The battle for 6th place is in front of them now. They've come up to the back of Robert Kanchan. John Ulmer is very much under threat as Gerard gains yet again coming through Quebec. And just to complicate it even more, they've got Sheldon Rosenbaum up in front of them, looking down on the inside. There goes, oh, and he runs into him. 3 cars come together as John Ulmer is passed by Jason Gerard, who makes contact, but he's not out of the woods yet. Mark Wilson in front of him checks him up. A little bit of wheel spin. Jason Gerard has only 3 corners to take this victory away, but John Ulmer is challenging him. He gets in the slipstream, looks around to the left side. He's going to try and do it the hard way, holding on. More traffic in front of them, almost coming together. They're going to split these cars going on either side. John Ulmer runs into another car. That sends him flying off. Jason Gerard is into the tires. They're both trying to get their cars going. Where is Carter Kundinger? He is so far back. There is no challenge. It is a run to the line as they're both limping away. And John Ulmer might just have it. It's going to be awful close across the line. And it was Ulmer by 1/1000th of a second as both cars came across limping and damaged.
Oh my.
Unreal. And it was Stephen McGarvey taking the win and the GTLMs as he crosses, as Armando Edwards as well takes the victory in the GTDs. That was incredible. I have never seen a finish like that, even in this series, which tends to produce crazy finishes. This all started with Ulmer trying to go around the outside, splitting Turcotte with Gerard to the inside. He loses the car, hits Gerard, who hits Owens. Both of them fly into the barriers, along with Owens.
If you remember, Owens was the one who was battling with Alan Hesbeck, so he has to limp his car back to the finish. Unfortunate. He's just a bystander.
All I can help think of, Bill, is Petty and the Silver Fox at Daytona.
I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but it was Petty and Pearson. I was expecting one of them to get stuck in the mud.
I want a chance to watch the replay. Oh my goodness.
And it's not over.
I was like, where's the next car in line? And does he have a chance? And no, and the fact that they still, look at this, 1/1000ths, because there's the line right up there.
Amazing.
Just insanity. All right, let's calm down. Apologies to everybody whose ears I was blowing out. I was getting very into that finish. So we're going to come back after a short break and give you the unofficial results as well as driver interviews on screen. You're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, better known as Mosport, or, maybe they need to give this place another nickname around here, because I'd say the craziness deserves one, and the craziness of this finish tops many of the things we've seen here on the Global SimRacing Channel. When you look at the results, Ulmer, it says 2 1,000ths on our timing. iRacing says 1 1,000th. Doesn't matter which one you go by. John Ulmer wins it ahead of Jason Gerard. Both cars with incredible damage, wrecking with 1 corner to go. And Ulmer just barely squeaks to the line ahead of Jason Gerard. Carter Kundinger takes 3rd place a ways back. Even with them wrecking, he was 24 seconds behind at the line, but he gets a podium. Billy Smith finishes in 4th today with Robert Tinsey. His woes started very, very early, only to take a top 5. Mark Wilson will finish in 6th place with Robert Kanchin in 7th and Leif Peterson in 8th. Dean Mole will round out the finishing prototypes in 9th. Bill?
With Alex Simonik not being here, somebody was going to pick up their first win of the season, and it goes to Stephen McGarvey. A really smart race from him as he bests Jason Deep Freeze DeVries. Dave Hill quietly gets a podium. Daniel Gralty and Ryan Huff go 4th and 5th. Matt Quinn, Paul Lindsay, and Olivier Jacquot. Jacquot qualified fast but had trouble early. He's well down the order. Joey Trungale in there also. Sheldon Rosenbaum, really the last car in that class that didn't have major damage. Dawson?
Armando Edwards had a great race today. I'm glad I didn't show up. I'm not sure I'd have been able to top that. He did a great job today, able to get a win. Good job by him. Tim McLeish did a great job as well, finishing in 2nd. Mark Kudrowski, Shane Hunter, they were both close. They're battling for that last podium spot, but Kudrowski will be the one who gets it. Shane Hunter finishing 4th. Kevin Santana with that costly mistake. He would have been right there fighting for that podium position as well, but he'll have to settle for 5th place today. Alan Heisbeck going to finish 6th. Matt Owens, and he was in that final wreck that we saw with Ulmer and them, unfortunate bystander, so he's going to finish 7th. Gerard Gilbert 8th, Art Peck 9th, Paul Slavonic, Lionel Duprat, Tyler Gilmet, Trevor Vavrosky, Marty Jeffries, and Mike Major to round out the GTD field.
From there, it's all just DNFs. Young, McGarvey, Laster, Wolf, Green, Henderson, Homan, Swaby, Guardacia, Booth, and Topich round out your field. But the driver who finished up at the front was John Ulmer, our winner for today, his 2nd win of the season. And I hope his heart rate has managed to go down after that. I think my heart is still pounding. John, that finish, that was incredible. Could you make sense of what in the world was going on at the end? Because we were certainly having trouble figuring out what was happening.
Yeah, my apologies to Matt Owens. I went around. I can hold that outside usually out there, but if you look at it, you can see him zig side to side a little bit there because he had both of us coming, and when he did that, cut it a little tighter to the left side to keep from getting into him. Then I clipped the grass, and when I clipped the grass, it was bye-bye.
Before that, you found yourself inheriting the lead a little bit because Gerard and many other drivers seem to be struggling with traffic here today, which is no surprise considering Motorsports' reputation. But once you were in the lead, it looked like from our perspective, you were holding back a little bit to try and manage the situation. Is that accurate, or were you pushing 100% the whole way?
No, I was on fuel map 1 the whole 2nd run until he would get within a second. Then I'd go to map 8 because I didn't put in enough fuel. And that, if you'll remember, the last time we ran HPDs here at Mosport as the lead class, when I was still running HPD, I picked him in the same exact spot in the same situation with using a GT car. And so that's what I was waiting for that whole time, because I know his tendency coming off of turn 1. Just watch for him. And if he guesses wrong and that GT car goes the other side on that crossover, I know that I can get him on pace. He just has a little bit too much. And so I just have to follow and wait for an opportunity, kind of like a vulture.
And we mentioned during the race that you've always said you tend to like the American tracks, that you're fast at those. We had some debate. Is that just U.S. tracks or is that North American tracks? Because I'd say counting a victory here, it seems like North American tracks.
Yeah, I think I've won 4 of the races here. Track is a lot like Road Atlanta, which is up until the last couple of races, historically been a good track for me. But it's a similar kind of flow. It's a little bit slower pace-wise on the corners than Road Atlanta because of Moss Corner, but very similar. Like even the setups I run aren't a whole lot different. I don't run quite as much front downforce here as I do at Road Atlanta, but just because of turn 2. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same.
Well, this was a wild one. This was a fun one, and I'm sure it felt good to take a victory here today. Congratulations, John.
Thank you.
That was John Ulmer, winner by either 2 1,000ths of a second or 1 1,000th of a second, depending on which software you ask. Up next, we have our second place finisher, Bill, talking to Jason DeVries for the GTLMs.
For all you have a little sister, here's what Stephen McGarvey did. It's the I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. My goodness, he chased Jason. Stephen chased the entire first third of the race just on your bumper. Wouldn't touch you, but man, he was annoying.
Yeah, he actually had a little bit more pace, and I just tried to hold him off, and he made a good move, and that was that. But let's stir a little bit of controversy in that finish, because, if you look at Ulmer's car, he's missing the front nose cone. So he actually didn't have a piece of the car that crossed the line before Gerard.
There you go. That's right. so visually, Gerard wins, but technically Ulmer wins.
His timing beacon was holding on by a wire, and it was still sticking out there. That's my reason.
He won by a shadow. What a finish! That took the cake. That was pretty entertaining to watch. I saw the chat where I was cooling down, and I just watched it real quick. So I'm excited to see how you guys called it, because that had to have been crazy.
It was fun. Congratulations on the second place finish here today. We're going to get yourself a win here before not too long. Good luck the rest of the way.
I certainly hope so. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Jason DeVries, even a fan of the battle, Joe, that you called.
We've got third place who came in behind that action in the prototypes. Dawson's going to be talking to Carter Kundinger.
Yeah, Carter, we're just going to start out. What did you see of that final incident, and what were your thoughts?
Oh God, I'm trying to figure out which one you're talking about, because from my point of view, there seem to be a lot of them. But I mean, like
specifically Ulmer and Gerard.
Oh yeah, from my point of view, they were way too far down the road for me to see. I knew that I was just driving my line on that white flag, and all of a sudden I heard my spotter say, "There's been an incident. It's P1." And then there's an incident, it's P2, and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'm sitting here running P3, about 30 seconds down the grid, and I was like, what are the chances I catch those two? And I was like, yeah, pretty slim. But, yeah, I mean, I wasn't able to see it. I can only imagine it was probably a good one, but, I mean...
Oh, yeah, go back and watch it. I highly recommend you go back and watch that. Just go and watch the replay when GSRC uploads the video. It'll be great, I promise. So let's talk a little bit more about Mosport here. A really difficult track to pass traffic. How was that for you?
It was. I mean, it lived up to its name. For me at least in this race, I think being a veteran of the series definitely helped me get to where I got, basically. So I kind of came into this race knowing that there was going to be basically chaos everywhere, and that every wrong move was basically costly at this track. So the traffic, at least for me in the prototype, was for the most part manageable. It's one of those tracks where it's really easy to do the wide in, close out or whatever. So start out wide and then shoot to the inside at corner exit. That's basically what I use to get around most of the traffic. And then some of the traffic, we just had a heck of a lot more cornering speed than them. So we just fly around the outside. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Motorsport lived up to its name. There was just basically chaos everywhere. So yeah, I just was able to manage it all night, basically.
Well, I tell you what, that experience really showed. You were able to move up 7 positions here from 10th to 3rd tonight. So a great job for you. Now,
In 2 weeks' time, we go to Road America. What are you thinking about that?
Oh, nothing like my home track.
Ooh,
Yeah.
same here.
So I know, us big Midwesterners, but I mean, I've got a lot of stuff to prove, but at the same time, it's bit me in the butt too many times. So that's gonna be. It could really be a toss up for me. I could either be really fast or really slow. So we'll just have to see.
All right, well, thanks for stopping by, Carter. You finished third today and did a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's Carter Cunninger.
As mentioned on the podium in the prototypes, and that's going to close things out for us here after a very fun broadcast for us to put on. And I think we're going to thank a few people. Of course, a big thank you goes to John Ulmer and his team. We always thank John specifically. I know a few other names involved in it. Dino Topic as well helps behind the scenes. And then, of course, you've got the likes of Jason Gerard, who always puts up the information before each race the drivers need to know, basically preparing them for what to deal with in this race. We'll get a few other names in next time, as everybody deserves a little bit of a mention. But a big thank you goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed on your screen. And an additional thanks goes out to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Taylor, Sean, Dougie, as well as Dawson Brock. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, where you can check out our social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Head on over to our YouTube page when you get the opportunity. Make sure and hit that big red button that says subscribe so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, we're going over to Wisconsin, Road America. That'll be Monday, June 3rd at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.